everyone, welcome back to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany and today I'm going to go over some more reasons why I don't like Meghan Markle. So I did a part one of this video and there were honestly more things and more reasons why I'm just not a huge fan of Ms. Markle, and a lot of people really loved that video and wanted a part two. So here it is. Here are my other a couple reasons why I'm just not a fan of hers. And hey, if you are a fan, I'm actually wearing my Team Sussex, you can't totally see it, t-shirt today and for the filming of this video, and I just wanted to do that. I actually have two different versions, a Team Cambridge and Team Sussex t-shirt that I'm hoping to maybe sell at some point. I gotta order more. I have like a sampler package basically. But so if you're interested in something like that, let me know in the comments. But like I said, I'm just gonna go over a couple reasons why I think Meghan is just really unlikable, and why for me, there's just so many reasons why I'm just not really a fan. And maybe I'll try to find one reason why she's maybe sort of likable. I'll try to think that through as I'm filming this video. But anyways, guys, if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany and I talk about everything related to royals. So that's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, movies, and history. I do it all right here. So if you want to subscribe, that would be great. And like I said, just curious, do you like Meghan? I'm sorry, but I don't. And there's a lot of reasons why that is. And so I'm just gonna go over a couple today. And just to let you know, if you don't know, I haven't watched this channel before, so I've actually been watching royals really closely for about more than 10 years now. And so there were just a lot of things initially that when Meghan came on the scene, it's like, yes, that would work for Hollywood, but that does not work for royals. And it was just kind of thing after thing and after thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Can we not like calm down, just go at this from a different direction, different vision? It was just very clear that Meghan just had kind of no respect for the institution and didn't care to kind of understand her husband, his country, the monarchy, royalty, what that actually meant. And no, it's not Hollywood. So kind of one of my first things that I'll get into is kind of Meghans Friends. So, I'm not going to try to disparage, everybody needs friends. That's not what I'm saying or anything like that. But Meghan has struck me, especially looking at all her friends. Everyone is kind of at the camp where they're using each other, using the influence Meghan has to get themselves ahead. They are all wannabes. They are all wannabe superstars, and they all gravitate towards each other, and they're all friends with other people who can kind of push them ahead. So you just kind of look at that and you wonder, well, how close are you when it comes to actually being friends? Because it just seems to me like your guys are only friends because that person benefits your goals for money, fame, influence. And for me, that's just not how I look at friendships at all. I try to find people that, have the similar interests, enjoy the same things I do. Like, those are the type of people I gravitate towards. I don't gravitate towards people just because I think they maybe have a bigger footprint in the place I'm trying to get to. And so ergo, I'll be friends with them so they can get me point C person, trying to get to point B person, trying to get point A person. And that's all of Meghan's seemingly friends. Like a great example of this is Jessica Mulroney. So Jessica Mulroney was kind of shown to the world as like Meghan's best friend. I mean, she got a premier spot at St. George's Chapel at Windsor. She walked up with her daughter, who was a bridesmaid, and she was, her sons held Meghan's veil. Her daughter was the only one of the girls that did not have a flower kind of tiara. So it was just kind of like, they were showing special treatment, and allegedly Jessica and Meghan were actually kind of ganging up on Princess Charlotte and Catherine. So it's just kind of, seems kind of like a Mean Girls club. Jessica, she got like this job on ABC, Good Morning America, and she kind of was touted as like the fairy godmother of fashion in Canada. Like, she got all these super things. And granted, she did kind of marry her influence because her father-in-law was a former prime minister of Canada. However, it also seems like she was just latching onto Meghan because Meghan and her were the same ilk, meaning they both wanted to live the high life, be as famous as they could, and that's what kind of bound them together. And that's why they seemingly fell apart so quickly. So Jessica kind of got into a social media spat with somebody last year, or sorry, in 2020. And so Jessica was basically canceled and Meghan supposedly just cut her off. And that's seemingly how everything goes with Meghan. She uses you for a while, and then when you're not useful anymore, she just kind of cuts you off. And there's another friend of hers, and I can't quite remember her name. She was actually with Harry and Meghan recently when they were trying to get to Oprah's house. And this woman, I remember there's this video of her, and I'll try to see if I can find it. And she's at this junket, and she's in this movie with Ben Affleck. And she's at this junket, and she's like hanging all over him. And you can just feel the desperation and trying to, you can just tell. I mean, he was dating Anna de Armas, and so, you know, he was clearly dating someone, but she was like desperately clinging to him, trying to like get some of the attention and trying to, I think, to kind of, you know, raise interest that they were dating when they were obviously not. And so I just kind of look at that going, it seems like all your friends, like their sole motivation is to kind of grasp onto people of influence. And Meghan, of course, was that kind of person eventually. And Meghan then in turn tries to, you know, she was originally the small fish with, you know, attaching to the bigger fish. Now she's the bigger fish and they're attaching to her, but she still feels, you know, inferior to somebody like George Clooney and his wife Amal. And so she still kind of, you know, knees to them. So it's just kind of interesting. So I just look at all her friends and just go, you know what? I'm just not thinking that you guys are really all that close, and you guys have very superficial similarities to a certain extent. You know, I think the theme of this video will probably be fakeness, because the next thing I want to talk about is Harry and Meghan's kind of fakeish charity. So I am just not convinced that Meghan Markle is really all that charitable. In fact, I think a lot of what she does is just kind of to prop herself up. It's a charity so that she looks good, so that she feels good, not because she's really altruistic and really wants to help people. And the reason I think that is in part because everything charitable that they seem to do always needs some public recognition in some way. So for example, Meghan donated a small number of Starbucks gift cards that were only worth $25 to this very small team. Like, I looked it up and I kind of went off their website and I guessed she spent, you know, like a couple hundred to several $100s maybe on these gift cards. Like, she didn't even break $1,000. But they need to publicize that for her. Say, Meghan Markle gave this group of people $25 gift cards. I don't know about you, but if you've ever been to Starbucks, especially if you order like food with it, like I used to have kind of like a breakfast order of like hot chocolate, the egg and Gouda sandwich, and the vanilla scone. You know how much that cost me? Like 11 or 12 bucks. It's insanely expensive. Like, how much could these people buy with it? And also it's like, it's a small amount. Like, do you really need to tell the whole world that you donated $25 gift cards to like 25 people? Like, it was either 25 or upwards of maybe 50, and that was like being generous. So it's a very small group of people, yet they need to publicize it. And then they go into LA in this one time, and it's like, I think it was a baby to baby charity event, and they had to go there with a professional photographer to get pictures of them giving away these things, and then they left. And according to reports, they were only there 10 to 15 minutes. And they also flew there from Santa Barbara by private jet, and so it was kind of a tax write-off because they went there for charity, quote unquote. And it's like, you know, if you're really about charity, you don't need to publicize it. Basically, every little donation they give must be publicized in some way. Even recently, there was this couple and they lost their son, and they're doing a GoFundMe to raise money for the funeral. But of course, Harry and Meghan made a donation under Archie and Lilibet, you know, and, you know, of course this got out to people. And I don't know, like, who would be scouring looking for this donation? And of course, it gets publicized. It's only like $5,000, and they live in a $15 million mansion. So it's like, you know, in theory, that should be pennies to you. But again, everything they do has to be publicized, even if it's just the smallest thing. And I always feel like they do kind of these grand gestures and actually give just a little bit. A great example, again, is the Uvalde, Texas shameless photo opportunity Meghan did. So she flew all the way to Uvalde, Texas to literally give people things you could buy at Costco in bulk. So it was like all the snacks that were on the table in front of them in this picture. If you've never been to the United States, those are cheap snacks. And apparently she just bought them cheap food. And so it's like she didn't even go to like a Panera or an Olive Garden or someplace else and got them really nice food. You know, somebody said, you know, well, you know, at least she didn't give them Panera. And I was like, Panera would have been an upgrade. Panera is kind of a you know, sandwich, you know, pastry shop. And so they have sandwiches and salads and a couple other things. So, and it's also gotten quite expensive. Everything's getting more expensive in the States. So it's actually pretty expensive to like eat a full meal, to have a drink, a pastry, and a meal can cost you like 15 or 17 bucks. Just FYI. Anyways, going on. It's just like, okay, so you flew on a private jet costing between $20,000 and $30,000 to give people cheap food you could buy at Costco. And then it was kind of implied, somebody mentioned that, oh, Meghan and Harry are playing for all the funerals. No, it came out recently that was actually this retired ball player who decided he wanted to do that. And, you know, he publicized it and made it officially public just a couple, you know, just recently. So this has been weeks after the tragedy. And so it's like, so why did you go to Uvalde except for to have a shameless photo opportunity? Like, it literally makes no sense. And so to me, that just screams fake. It seems like everything that's charitable must point back to you in some way. And to me, that's not charity. Charity should be something that you are moved to do and something that you don't feel the need to publicize. So it's like, I've done a couple of things for, you know, people who are homeless and those sorts of things, but I'm not going to give any specifics of what I did. And you can, you know, say, well, you know, she didn't do anything. She's not telling you. But the reason I did them, I didn't want to publicize them in part because I wanted them to be a reflection of my character to God rather than something I post on social media to get acclaim for. And that is kind of how I try to operate, is I try to do things because I feel led to do them and because I am doing something that I feel led by God to do rather than something that gets me kudo points in the rest of the world. And that's what I feel like Meghan more than Harry does. I think Harry for a long time did do things out of the goodness of his heart. He did seem very charitable. He didn't seem like he was very engaged. Now, that could have been all a PR stunt, but ever since Meghan came into the picture, again, it's become this very demonstrative charity rather than just something that's done quiet on the down low. So, for example, Catherine, during the pandemic, she was a part of this program where she would call pensioners and chat with them. And she did finally meet one of the pensioners she was chatting with, but it wasn't like we were given a step-by-step of this is when they called, this is when they started, blah, 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 blah. I feel like if Meghan and Harry had did that, we would know all these details and it would have been this grand, you know, unification and, you know, how great is Meghan Markle? No, I felt like it was very low-key. Even when Catherine met this pensioner, it was still exceptionally low-key. Like, it was mentioned, but was not the focus. It didn't become this whole thing. And that's part of, I think, Meghan Markle's PR campaign as well, is that all of a sudden everything it has to become this huge, like, blitz of how great is Meghan Markle? How great is she? She's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And, you know, other people do things more charitably and more quietly. So I don't understand why you're screaming from the rooftops that you gave, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 when you live in a $15 million mansion. Now, if you gave $100,000 or $1 million, hey, I would pay attention. Blake Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, I can't remember how much money they raised. I believe they personally gave $1 million and then were trying to crowd raise another $1 million and then they would donate more on top of that, something to that effect. You know, and I actually think that would be cool. Harry and Meghan go, hey, because, you know, their fans are so aggressive, go, hey, we're going to raise X, we're giving X amount of money. Why don't you raise X amount of money at the same time and we can get that together? But no, I think Meghan and Harry don't do that in part because Meghan thinks that takes attention away from her and her charitable endeavors rather than seeing this as a teamwork. Again, it's all about me, I, self-promotion. That's all Meghan Markle cares about is self-promotion. Another thing is fake feminism. Yes, Meghan Markle touts herself all the time as a feminist. I mean, she even made the remarkable quote that she was at this event in London and she was pregnant at the time and, you know, she's like, there's the embryonic kick of feminism. And it's like, oh, I wonder how long she stood in the mirror trying to memorize that line and try to make it sound really great when she delivered it. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with feminism, but I don't like what feminism has turned into recently. And I think that's the feminism that Meghan buys into. And it's not necessarily a good one. So feminism to Meghan is not just men and women being equal in terms of as human beings and as lives, they both have equal value. No, it's about women trampling on men. Because we see that in Harry and Meghan's dynamic. Meghan is clearly the leader in their family. She clearly walks all over Harry. She clearly leads them and makes all their decisions for them, which has been kind of disastrous for them. And not to say that, you know, men can't make disastrous decisions either, but I am a conservative. I kind of believe in the traditional, you know, male and female dynamic. And I think actually those dynamics usually result in happier and healthier relationships rather than a dynamic where kind of, you know, the woman just completely tramples on the man. And we see this in our, you know, entertainment as well. And Harry and Meghan are in Hollywood, so I'm sure they're absorbing this even more. So you see this in entertainment where they're switching out kind of the male and female role. So they're giving a role that traditionally went to a guy and then she's changing it to a woman and basically making her a caricature of the man in a way. Or they just basically give the women all the characteristics of men and kind of make them aggressive and battle-hardened. We're seeing this, you know, supposedly in the latest Lord of the Rings. They're making Galadriel this warrior from J.R.R. Tolkien, and she was never that in the book. I mean, she was basically a startling image of femininity. So she never went into battle. She never was battle-hardened. She impacted the world in a different way, in a very feminine way. So why is that so threatening? Why do we have to make her tougher, better than the men? So we see this all the time. I remember watching Red Notice, and maybe this is a tangent, maybe y'all don't care, but anyways, I watch a lot of kind of entertainment analysis because I find it fascinating. But I was remembering watching Red Notice, and Gal Gadot, who is very, very tiny, is beating up on Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but that just does not happen in real life. I don't care how good a fighter you are. If you are a woman and you're outweighed by like 100 pounds of muscle from a man, I mean, even if you don't, men are just physically stronger. They have more adrenaline. They are able to, you know, they have bigger hearts, bigger lungs. Like, they're physically more powerful than women are. And it did turn out in that movie, maybe I'll spoiler it. This is a spoiler warning if you haven't watched it, that her and Dwayne The Rock character, they were in on this thing together. So he was kind of allowing her to kind of beat him up more than he would have. But it's like, it was such a ridiculous scenario that when I watched it, I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, that doesn't even make sense. That's the kind of feminism Meghan buys into. She must lead because women are better. Rather than seeing men and women as equal and having different skills and mentalities that they can bring to a mindset, making them a great partnership. No, it's her leading the charge. And so you just look at poor Harry, and I feel like he's just so downtrodden. And then I also think of Archie, and I want to say hands off on kids, absolutely. But my question is, and this is more about their parenting rather than the children, I wonder if because Lilibet is a girl and Meghan puts a lot more emphasis on girls than boys, I've got to wonder, is, you know, Archie almost to a certain extent neglected, or is he going to feel neglected as he grows up because Meghan is putting all her focus on Lilibet, in part because she's the more obvious connection to Diana than Archie, and so all that focus is going to go there. And I just like, you know, that just doesn't seem like a healthy dynamic to me, because I mean, even in his Travelist commercial, Harry wore a shirt that said girl dad, and it's like, well, you're not a girl dad. You have one girl and one boy. You are a dad. Girl dad, you know, kind of the typical definition of that is a man who only has girls. And so I was like, well, are you telling us Archie is transgender? Is that what you're telling us? You know, who knows? Gosh, when was the last time we saw a picture of Archie? Now I'm trying to think of it. You know, we haven't seen a picture of Archie in a long time. So who knows? But anyways, it was just kind of obvious to me that they're putting a lot more emphasis on Archie because Lily, because Meghan buys into the Hollywood definition of feminism, and therefore Lily, unfortunately, I think in her mind, and I could be totally wrong, this is just my supposition, just my interpretation, that she probably puts more emphasis and attention to Lily than she will to Archie growing up. Oh, we did see him recently at the parade. That's right, I knew we had seen him recently. So obviously, Harry wearing a shirt that said girl dad just wasn't even correct. So again, and you know, and Meghan couldn't even Like, she can't even stand behind her husband. Even as a royal, she always had to rush in front of him. She always had to greet people first. And even if Harry was talking to him, she's like, okay. And she had to walk in front of him all the time. And that, to me, that's not feminism. That is you not respecting your partner and his family and his traditions and his heritage. That's what that speaks to me. That doesn't speak of feminism. That speaks of kind of a negative overbearingness. So anyways, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and obviously as well, I think rather concerning. And I think just goes to show again that there's a fake feminism aspect to Meghan. That's just not really true. One of the next things is that I feel like constantly they're trading off their royal titles and then saying they're not. So Harry and Meghan have, basically told the world that, we're independent. We are, not by, we are making our own money. We are making our way in the world. Don't worry about us. We're doing just fine. And yet what do they do all the time? Trade off their titles. Every time it's the Duke of Sussex, the Duchess of Sussex, and they have to capitalize the T in, the Duke, the Duchess. And Catherine and William do that, but Catherine and William are still working royals. And Harry and Meghan say they want to make it on their own. They say they want to do their own thing. They tell us all the time they don't want to be, connected with the monarchy all that much. They're making it on their own. Look how great we are. We're doing it ourselves. And yet constantly those titles are there all the time. And so what that tells me is not that you're trying to make it off your own. You're trying to make money off the title because you can't do it yourself. I would have an immense amount of respect for Harry and Meghan if they tried to do their own thing without relying on the power of the monarchy to get things done. But no, they continue to rely on the monarchy to get them attention, get them jobs and gigs and all these sorts of things, rather than them actually achieving things via their own goals and own ambitions and own skills and talents and those sorts of things. But as I detailed kind of in my review of Tom Bower's book about Harry and Meghan, is that Meghan very much decided very early on that she did not want to try to get better at her craft of acting. She didn't care. She wanted to pay to get ahead. So as soon as she got a job on Suits, what did she do? She hired Sunshine Sachs to try and get her as famous as possible without actually doing the work of improving her acting skills. How awesome would it be if Harry and Meghan met because she was an actress in an Oscar-nominated movie and they were introduced in the line because he was going to the premiere? That to me goes, oh, he saw she actually has talent. She actually worked hard at something. Now you can debate how hard acting is. That's not my issue here. But it's like, well, at least she achieved something. Like, she was just on Suits. If you really, really think about it, everything Meghan Markle has achieved is because social climbing and because she paid for it. That's the only reason why. She doesn't have really, I mean, she can write pretty. It's not calligraphy, because calligraphy to me is kind of the old style. I learned it in like 4th grade and I enjoy it. I enjoyed that a lot. But to me, that's like real calligraphy. What she does is fancy cursive. And, it's very pretty and it's very stylish, but it's also like so many things about Meghan. It looks pretty and awesome on the outside, but it's really kind of empty when you think about it. I just don't buy this whole thing that they're really trying to make it on their own. They're clearly trading off their titles to try to get ahead. And that's why I think they're starting to fail epically, because people are looking at Spotify and Netflix are going, we're paying you millions of dollars for you to sit on your butt. No, we're paying millions of dollars for you to be as close to the royal family as you can, and you still can't do it. It's like, well, no. So, I mean, I think they're both at serious risk of losing a lot of those big contracts, in part because they've been unable to do things on their own, and they've damaged the relationships with the monarchy so much that the thing that actually made them profitable in the first place no longer applies. And that, again, is just horrible business practices. It just shows you, again, that Meghan and Harry are just really kind of terrible at this stuff. The other thing is there's kind of just too much bad news for Meghan to not be kind of not the greatest person. It makes her incredibly unlikable. So it kind of started off with, again, she was obviously, I mean, they rode the wave pretty well initially. I will say, it started with the racist allegations. As soon as their relationship was out, everybody was racist who criticized her. It was like, everybody's like, oh, okay, there's a couple instances where maybe I can see it. But then it became a shield that anything Meghan did wrong was persecution and racism. It's like, well, not everything was like that, but that's how she interpreted basically everything is any criticism towards her was racist. And it's like, well, that's not really the case. But it clouded everything her and Harry did, really, in a way. And it clouded kind of, you know, what they were trying to do. And it made it actually more difficult to attach to them, because if you felt like you didn't love them, everybody would attack you. And then she started being coy with the media, putting up Instagram pictures of her dog in a Union Jack sweater. And we were told that Meghan hated the media. And it's like, well, you're pursuing the media. You're kind of giving them this peek. You're trying to up the ante and engage in more interest in your relationship with Harry for clicks. And so it's like, well, what are you doing? And then they got engaged, and then she bought that $75,000 engagement dress, which immediately raised the hackles of basically everyone, going, how in the world did you pay for that? And then we have all the drama surrounding the wedding, her father not attending. And then it came out, you know, that there was Tiara Gate, which basically everybody admits happened in some way or another. You know, we had the incident with the bridesmaids, you know, who only Omid Scobie says wasn't really a thing. And then Meghan Markle said, oh, Kate made me cry. When basically every story was that Meghan made Kate cry, which made sense because Kate was postpartum and very, very emotional. She had just had Louis. So I can understand why Kate would cry. I don't understand quite as much because Meghan strikes me as just incredibly cold. I don't see her crying except for kind of crocodile tears. And, you know, there was just all these stories of their staff members quitting, kind of the disastrous Australia tour in a way where, like, you know, she left the Fiji market early, and, you know, then they went to South Africa and bemoaned their existence amongst immense poverty. So there was just thing after thing after thing where it's just a lot of negative news surrounding them. And I'm sorry, but where's there's smoke, there's fire. And there's too many negative stories for them all to be false. And that's what Harry and Meghan basically said. It's all character assassination. That's what they said on Oprah. It's all wrong. It's all character assassination. None of it is true. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. If people are saying this enough, yes, you know, it's kind of the Goebbels thing. If you say something enough, it becomes true. But that's not the case here. The case is there's a lot of documented cases, especially Meghan ghosting people. She's well known for just ghosting people. You know, she becomes friends with them. You know, she lets them know that she thinks they're the greatest thing on earth. And then all of a sudden she drops them and just doesn't care. And especially after their usefulness is ended is when Meghan does this. And so you're telling me that she's this wonderful, good, amazing person that's all baseless character assassination for a woman who no longer speaks with her family. Her husband no longer speaks with his family for the most part. And she drops friends left and right. And so you're telling me that that's all false and that she doesn't treat her staff badly, even though we can all see that a ton of them left very, very quickly once Meghan became a royal. It's like, no, that just can't be the case. It either has to be yes, there may be instances where things are exaggerated and stuff like that, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's clearly a lot of smoke. So you know what? There is fire. And the last thing I'll mention here, and I discovered this a lot now more that I run this channel, is why I don't like Meghan. One of the biggest reasons is the Sussex fans, the Sussex Squad. You make your idol unlikable. Why? Because anybody who doesn't like her is immediately called racist, bigoted, terrible, you know, all these sorts of horrible names. And it's like, I should have the right as a human being to say, you know what, I'm just not a fan. But no, you can't not like Meghan Markle. And to me, that is, it's just unhealthy as a fandom to be like, well, somebody can't like somebody. You know, I know people don't like Crown Princess Mary. I like her. I know people don't like her. I know people don't like Kate Middleton. I was in that camp, but my mind changed. I know people don't like Matt Mart, Victoria, Madeline, Sophia, Letizia, you know, like so many women, you know, Charlotte, you know, Katsuragi and Princess Caroline and, you know, all these. I know people don't like everyone, and that's fine. Like, why is it that if Meghan is not liked, you go nuclear about that? Why is it so terrible that somebody does not like her? And why do you immediately go to the worst case scenario that's just racism? And yes, there is racism in the world. There have been racist remarks made about Meghan Markle, absolutely. But that's not why I don't like her. I don't care what the color of her skin is. Really, it doesn't matter to me. Actually, what annoys me more is that she uses, and others use the color of her skin to attack other people, and if they don't like her. But that to me is incredibly troubling, is that you cannot not like her. And so what does that say about her that she lets her fans do this? Like if it was me and people were attacking people and saying, you know, terrible things if they didn't like me, and I'd be like, please don't do that. That is not my intention. I understand that people will not like me. I know people don't like me on this channel. You know, that is that is a thing. That's totally appropriate. But that, you know, people just go aggressively against people who don't like her. To me, it's like, I don't want to be a part of your fandom, because those are your fans. Those are the people who like you. And what that tells me about you is not good. It's not good. If people get unhinged if you don't like them. To me, it almost seems cult-like. It almost seems worshipful. Like she is your God. And it's like, she's human, A. She has a lot of faults, B, that we can all see. And like, I'm not, that to me is incredibly troubling, that that's where these people go to, is immediately go to, you know, that she must be sanctified. She must be protected. Like nobody can say an odd thing about her. And I just don't understand why, because there are other women and men of color in royal families. Princess Angela of Liechtenstein is one of them. So it's like, I have no strong feelings about Angela, but you know, I think it's great. And there's is she the Marquise of Bath? She was gorgeous, by the way. Some of her fashion, I saw one of her fashion looks recently and I was like, man alive, she is nailing it. She looks beautiful. I saved it because I just thought it was so gorgeous. And I was like, you know, the color of the skin to me just doesn't matter. To me, it always comes down to character. And what bothers me about Meghan Markle is I feel like there's a lot of character flaws there. And she's being propped up on this platform, I believe, under false pretenses. She says to everyone that she and Harry are going to save the world. And I was like, well, A, you are not a savior, so please don't say that. That's just a dumb thing to say. And B, it's like, yeah, I don't totally buy it. But your fandom makes you unlikable to me. The Sussex stands, they need to pull back. They need to let people not like her. And I know they go back to the same thing Meghan does. If you say a negative thing about her, it's a campaign, it's persecution, it's racism, it's all these different things. It's like, perhaps maybe I didn't set out my argument or explain my argument in the best way at times, but I feel like I should have the right not to like her. I didn't like Kate Middleton for years. Had nothing to do with the color of her skin at all. I just thought she didn't work that much. She, you know, some of her fashion was like, eh. And I think sometimes I was influenced by a bit more, you know, people on, you know, different sites and stuff. But after a while, especially watching her with her children, I was like, okay, my mind has changed because you are the mother of your children. I can tell that you spend, even though you haven't worked a ton, and that was probably my main complaint, is that she didn't seem to do all that much in the beginning of her marriage. And I know people say, oh, well, you know, they were living in Wales and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but, you know, compared to other women who are similar in age to her, who are in the line of succession of their countries, like the immediate line, they do tend to do more. But when I saw her with her children, Catherine, what that immediately struck me as is, that is a woman who mothers her children. She's with her children every day. She is their disciplinarian. She loves them. She reads them story time. She does bath time. She does a ton of things for those kids. And she has a nanny, but her nanny is there to help her as she works and does different things, but she is their mother. She's not letting a nanny raise her children. And I was like, bravo. I see that. And she has increased her work quite a bit. She's grown very much into her role. And that is when I came to embrace her. It wasn't because a Kate Middleton fan badgered me into liking her. No, she changed my opinion about her. Catherine changed my opinion about her, not her fandom. So I think Sussex fans, if there are any watching this channel, back off of people who don't like her. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it will all kind of even out, but your aggressive tactics towards people who don't like her does her no favors. It does her no favors, because what you're trying to do, you're not trying to get people to change their opinion. You're trying to guilt them. You're trying to berate them. They're trying to dox them into submission. And that's not a healthy thing, A. And B, I don't think it'll help your idol in the long run, really. Well, anyways, guys, that is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've had a Sussex fan interaction, let me know. I've actually tried to debate them. And at one point, I was trying to explain to this girl this one thing, and I kept sending her links and, you know, screen grabs, which I, you know, probably shouldn't have done, because I was just like, just look at this. And I just wanted to go at the end of the day, I was like, you're basically telling me you can't read. That's what you're telling me. But anyways, guys, again, let me know your stories below, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.